Hi guys, this is Elaine and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to do something that a lot of you have been requesting in my recent short videos, and many of you have been asking me about the brush that I use for my digital paintings, especially the brush I use when creating realistic portraits. So I've received comments asking what brush is that, can you share the QR code, and so on. And today I'm going to talk about it. Before I share the brush itself, I want to show you how I actually use it, because I believe that brushes are just tools. Okay? Even if two artists use the exact same brush, they can still create completely different results, and the technique and understanding behind the brush matter just as much as the brush itself. Okay, the brush I'm using is called paint. I name it that because it behaves more like traditional paint than a standard digital brush. It has a self blending effect, which means the colors naturally mix together while you paint. It's similar to a wet brush, but not too wet. I wanted to find a balance where blending feels smooth without without losing too much control over the details. You know, when I was creating this brush, my goal wasn't to make an exact oil paint brush. Instead, I wanted something that could help me achieve realistic results while still keeping the painting process efficient. So this brush has a little bit of texture, just enough to make the painting feel or natural. However, it's not as textured as some of my previous oil painting brushes. I wanted something softer, cleaner, and more suitable for realism. Now, before anyone asks, this brush is still not completely finished. I'm constantly testing it while I paint, and sometimes I discover things that I want to improve. So, if you decide to use it and something feels different on your device or within your drawing, don't be afraid to adjust the settings. And one thing I've learned as an artist is that there is no such thing as perfect brush. What works for me may not work for someone else or you. Every artist has different preferences, different techniques, different goals, and that's why I always encourage artists to experiment and customize their tools. The best brush is the one that works for you. And yeah, that's true, right? Now, let's talk about my process. And recently, I've been practicing digital painting without using line art at all. And this is something I've been exploring for quite a while. And honestly, I've been enjoying it a lot. And traditionally, most artists start with a sketch, then clean line art, then colors, and then rendering. But lately, I've been skipping the line art stage. Instead, I start by laying down rough shapes, colors, and at first it looks messy. Sometimes it doesn't even looks anything. It just random shapes, values, colors placed on the canvas. Then I slowly begin adjusting those shapes. I paint over them, reshape features, blend colors together, and then little by little the drawing starts to come alive. And for me, this process feels more natural because it allows me to focus on forms rather than outlines. When you rely too much on line art, sometimes you become attached to the lines. You don't want to change them because you already spent time drawing them. But when you paint without line art, you are constantly making adjustments. Nothing is permanent. Everything can change. And I think that's one of the reasons why this method has helped me improve. It forces me to think about light, shadow, shape, and structure instead of simply coloring inside the lines. Of course, that doesn't mean line art is bad. Not at all. Okay, line art is a very important skill, and many amazing artists use it. This is simply a different approach that I've been experimenting with. One thing I want beginners to understand is that the brush itself won't magically improve your artwork. I know sometimes we see amazing artists online and we immediately ask what brush do they use, you know? I've done that too, but over the years I've realized that understanding fundamentals, basics, and all is much more important. Learning proportion, learning anatomy, understanding light and shadow, practicing values, studying color, these things will improve your art much more than any brush ever could. And then the brush is simply a tool that helps you execute your ideas. And also think of it this way. A professional artist, you name it, can create beautiful artwork using a basic brush. Example, airbrush. Why? Because they understand the fundamentals behind what they are painting. That's why I always encourage artists to spend time studying and practicing. You know, don't focus only on finding the perfect brush. Focus on becoming a better artist. Oh, yeah, that's true, right? The brush should support your skills, not replace them. Okay. And another thing people often ask me is whether digital art is easier than traditional art. Honestly, I don't think one is easier than the other. They simply have different challenges. Digital art gives you unlimited undo buttons, layers, flexibility. Traditional art teaches patience, observation, and confidence. And both have their strength. Personally, I enjoy both. But digital painting allows me to experiment more freely, which is why I spend so much time doing it. And yes, digital art can be difficult. There were many times when I felt frustrated, many times when my paintings didn't turn out the way I wanted, many times when I wanted to quit and start over, you know. But every artist experiences that, and the important thing is to keep going, keep practicing, keep making mistakes, keep learning because every painting teaches you something, even the failed ones, especially the failed ones. Okay, looking back at my older artwork, I can see so many mistakes, but instead of being embarrassed by them, I'm grateful for them. Those mistakes helped me become the artist I am today, and honestly, I'm still learning, and I don't think artists ever stop learning. There is always a new technique to discover, a new challenge to overcome, a new skill to improve. That's what makes art exciting. It's a never ending journey, okay? So if you are currently struggling with your art, you know, don't give up. Okay, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Focus on your own progress. Focus on getting a little better every day. Most importantly, enjoy the process. As I always say, because when you genuinely enjoy creating, improvement becomes a natural part of the journey. You stop worrying about perfection. You stop worrying about being the best. You simply create, you draw, you paint, you learn, and over time you grow. So that's it. That's the key. That's the secret. That's the process. Okay. Um. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say to all of you guys. And yeah, this is the end. So that's how I've been using this brush, and this is how it looks when you use this brush. Okay, so I hope this video gave you some insight into my process and maybe inspired you to try new techniques in your own artwork. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see next. um Maybe a pixel art to realism, you know. Okay, let me know in the comments below. So my brush set is still available. You can click the link in the description box to get access. But here's the QR code for the paintbrush. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you understand my voice on what I'm saying, because I can understand myself. I hate my voice. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for supporting me and watching my videos. Thank you. Bye.